Hi, I'm Jean Walsh with SuncoastDreams.com, your top producing real estate team here in Lakewood National Golf Club. I'm on the third hole of the Piper course today, and you have this beautiful view, and the golf course is incredible, and so are the amenities and families that live here. If your dream is to live on a golf course with amazing people, please feel free to give me and Vince Vizzacaro a call at 941-220-4000.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Jean Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the program. I have a couple of updates to share with you. I will tell you, let me preview the guest. Brendan Walsh, Director of Golf at the Country Club in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, Brookline, Massachusetts area, suburban Boston, is our guest here. Some business updates about the podcast. We now have 8,500 subscribers. How the heck did that happen? I'm not really sure, but I'm thankful that it's happened, and I appreciate you for doing that. If you have not yet subscribed, though, would you please subscribe, and would you please share the show with a friend? Leave a comment, like the show, because in the end, that matters to the analytics and that matters to our sponsors, who I'll tell you about in just a moment. 275,000 views as well. A little engine that could. Party Time, My Golf Story. Who knew? We kind of suspected it might get some traction because when you talk about golf and really take a deep dive into a golfer's soul, there's gold there. And that's all we're doing is we're mining. And everybody gives it up because they like doing it. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of beer or hard seltzers or whatever it is that you're indulging in, try Party. I know you'll like it. For golfers, by golfers, Transfusion, the #1 seller. Purple, like the shirt that I'm wearing here. And we'll get into the squirrel on the shirt as well. And if your dream is to live in a golf real estate community like Lakewood National Golf Club, no place better in the world than Jean Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from SuncoastDreams.com, a division of Fine Properties. They are your go-to people to get you all set up, and they've done more business in Lakewood National Golf Club than anybody at all. All right, so that's the housekeeping stuff. Let's get Brendan Walsh in on the conversation. Brendan, I am so glad to see you. First of all, I miss you. Haven't seen you in 3 years, but where are you joining us from, and how's life going?
Kevin, great to be with you. Thank you so much. Great to see your smiling face. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm coming to you from my home in Needham, Massachusetts, which is 7 miles due west of Chestnut Hill, where I go to work every day. Been blessed to go to 191 Clyde Street, where the Country Club is for the last 27 seasons. But it's great to be with you. Thanks so much. And I always enjoyed our times together and our talks over there at 191 Clyde Street.
Man, you got the speech down, and we're going to get into the speech that you give on the one-day member guests and everything. And did you know that the caddies, we would try and imitate you and everything? But I've heard your speech so many times. If I ever had a pinch hit, I could have done it. But I know the club and its history means so much to you, and it should, because the history is so rich there. The membership is so good. The caddy program is awesome, filled with characters on end, from Slick to Flash to T-Bone. I mean, I could go, and you encourage that. You don't mind. It's not like it's just Kevin. You know, it's like, so hold that thought on that. But I do want to get into that. But let's go back to the very beginning. Where does your golf story begin?
This was truly blessed. As you know, I come from a large family, Kevin. I'm the 12th of 15 children. And my father, Bill Walsh, who was my greatest role model, we lost him in 2013. He introduced us to the game of golf. And it was the first 4 children were girls, and there was a boy, 2 more girls, and then 3 boys, a girl, and then 3 more boys and a girl. So I had a lot of brothers to play golf with when we were younger. It was a real treat. We were fortunate enough to belong at the Philadelphia Country Club, and we'd get our yard work done, and my father would promise us to take us out for golf. And we'd go over to the Philadelphia Country Club, and he would give us 3 swings. If we missed the ball 3 times, we had to pick up and go to the next hole. So it gave you that motivation to make sure you made contact. And we're decent athletes, played a lot of different sports, but especially having a bunch of brothers. And to have that opportunity to go to Philadelphia Country Club just about every day in the summer and continue to get better and love the game. And it was a real treat, and we felt very privileged to have that opportunity.
Well, that's cool. And your dad gave you some incentive, or it didn't make it easy about the 3 swings. Then you were out. But like, how competitive was it with you and your siblings once you got out on the course and it was game on?
It was incredibly competitive, which helped us in all of our other sports and also in golf when we competed. And we always loved winning, and when we didn't win, we weren't happy. So there was always, especially not so much on the golf course, but playing wiffle ball and football and all those type of things. Most games ended in a fight of some sort because of the competitiveness that we had. But that's what it was all about, and having brothers, and you're at each other's throats and then you're best friends. But loved every minute of it. Wouldn't have changed it in a bit. And when you're growing up with that many siblings, you always thought, gosh, wouldn't it be nice just to only have one sibling? But you look back at how fortunate we were to have one another, and we always had a team, no matter what, and you could always find people to play with. And then going out on the golf course with them, we had a lot of great nights playing into the dark on the 18th hole at Philadelphia Country Club, and couldn't see the ball, but you could hear if it hit those pine trees on the right-hand side. You remember, I just was there last week for Thanksgiving. They cut all those trees down, so doing a little renovation work over there. So it's exciting to see how it's all going to play out.
Yeah, that's cool. Kind of getting back to the simplicity of things. And you guys did that at the country club, because I remember with the Ryder Cup there in 1999, many of the public hadn't been on the course in many years. And then probably their first, if they weren't invited as a guest, was the 2013 U.S. Amateur. And it looked very different, because what's new is old again, or what's old is new. What I'm talking about is like tree removal and everything, kind of getting it back to what it was. Is that what you're talking about at Philly Country?
Exactly. Most clubs are doing this work. The first, I always say, it's a couple phases that go along with tree removal. And the first one at TCC was all for agronomics. And it was strictly to take a look at what our greens were doing, how much sun they were getting a day. We had this company out of Canada called Arborcom, which is a computer model that actually measures your sunlight on the green complexes at any time of the year, at any time of the day. And we were in certain one of our greens, we're supposed to get 8 hours of sun on each green complex every day. And at Primrose number 9, you remember, which was amateur, and Ryder Cup number 13, it actually was turned out to be open number 9. That green was only getting 45 minutes of sun a day. And so we went around to every green that we had some issues, and we measured that. And so we went and took trees down first for agronomic reasons, around tee boxes for agronomic reasons, and then some of the fairways. And then we took into some of the vistas. And every club's doing that. We weren't the first by any means. Philadelphia Country Club, when their first renovation took place probably 20 years ago, they took down a bunch. And a lot of clubs are doing it just for to give the chance for the turf to be able to grow the way it's supposed to grow. And it really has opened up some vistas and views. And the TCC, as you know, walking around there and some of the views that you have around the property, it's incredible. And you wouldn't be able to make golf courses the way today as we did back in the day when they were doing things without machinery.
Yeah, I can't believe that, just 45 minutes of sunlight. But I mean, the devil is in the details. You measured it and then made the adjustments on it, and you did a great job. And I just love seeing the open air, and then the wind blowing around the vistas and everything, and it just makes all the sense in the world. I just didn't know it was that detail. But
it also helps, through the whole political game with the clubs, that it's not just one person saying, hey, we need to take these trees down. You had scientific evidence that they needed to go down, and that helped a lot with our grounds committee and to go ahead and sell that to the rest of the club that was not crazy about taking trees down.
Yeah, because some people think trees just belong to nature or Mother Earth, even if they're on private property. But if you can convince them of the wisdom of it based on agronomy and everything else, then I think you have a lot less difficulty with the outside world. So you talked about growing up at Philly Country Club, how competitive it was with your brothers, and sometimes descended into fights. Sounds like my family, but you just would have to subtract 12 children because there's just 3 boys in my family, but we were brawling all the time. Now we're the best of friends. Tell me about some milestones in your life and your game, Brandon. When did you know you were becoming a good player?
I was a 3-month-a-year. I was a summer golfer for a long time. I played all the other sports, and I went to high school and I played football and basketball. I was on the golf team, but I really played for 3 months, and I go off to college, and I was barely breaking 80. I think I broke 80 my senior year in high school for the first time at Philadelphia. I was a decent teenage golfer. And then I went to the College of Wooster. It's just south of Cleveland, about 50 miles south of Cleveland. And our golf coach was a PGA professional, and he was a great instructor. His name was Bob Nye, and they had an elective class that he encouraged if anybody was going to go out for the golf team. And I went there to play basketball, but I also wanted to try out for golf. And I figured going to a smaller D3 school, I could do both. And that fall, there was this advanced golf class that he tried to get all the freshman kids that were going to think about playing golf to take the class. And I took it, and within about a month, I broke 70 for the first time. And just by getting lessons.
Whoa. Stop. That fast?
Well, it's just because I never really had, we didn't take lessons as kids. You were just kind of following along. And I really didn't work at it that hard. And you're doing golf 3 times a week under supervision, and you're playing golf. And my basketball I was falling in love with the game so much. I was having so much success. I never got on the court until tryouts, and I was so out of shape. But I was so far behind all the other kids that came in for basketball that were playing pickup every day, and I was playing golf. But within that time frame, I broke 70. Wasn't as hard as a Philadelphia Country Club, but I broke 70, and I was on my way. And that's when I knew I was going to concentrate on golf, and I gave up basketball. I was in it for 6 weeks, decided that I was going to stay with golf, and we did some winter training for golf, and I was fortunate enough to make the team and then go down to we did a winter trip down in Florida. It was a real treat. I'd never been to Florida before, so it was fun to drive down there with the team, and I never looked back and just played intramural basketball.
Holy smokes. That Brendan Walsh, the director of golf at the Country Club in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, is our guest here on Party Time. But so that breaking 70 was just a real tipping point. That pushed you over the edge, and from then on, you grew as a player, and you started thinking about making a living doing it, yes?
Absolutely. I had a nice career in golf and had some really nice events. And I was fortunate enough to win one college event at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. You being a Philly boy, you know where that is. It was a one-day medal play, but that kind of really gave me the confidence that I could compete at that level. And a lot of smaller D1 schools that were there. And then as we talked about it, our golf coach is a PGA professional, and he had a son who was in the business, and his other son, Scott, who is just finishing up at Marion Golf Club after a great career there. He's going to take on the role of the executive director of the U.S. Amateur in 2026 and 2030. One of my closest friends. And we were both talking about getting into the golf business, and Coach and I helped me get an opportunity out on Nantucket Island working for a guy by the name of Jim Fitzgerald, who was there for 3 years at Sankey Head, and then he went off to have a great career at the Chevy Chase Club. But Jim introduced me to the golf business in a different manner than what I had seen when I was a kid growing up at the Philadelphia Country Club. A lot of the assistant professionals there, it's just they were always moaning and groaning about the job and working weekends and holidays. And Jim showed me the glass half full about the golf business. And I shared that summer, I said, I'm going to give this a go. And he got me set up for a job in the wintertime at a place called Cypress Run down in Tarpon Springs, Florida. And then Jim helped me also get hooked up. Was when my greatest break was going to work for a guy by the name of Bill Adams at the Ridgewood Country Club in Ridgewood, New Jersey. I spent 5 seasons there, and I did that my first winter at Ridgewood. I went back down to Tarpon Springs and worked at the Innisbrook Resort. And then I stayed at Ridgewood for 12 months as I became the first assistant. And that was off and running, played a lot of competitive golf at that time as a professional, as assistant in New Jersey. They had a great assistants association that played every week and some wonderful clubs. And it was terrific to be able to hone your game in, and had a lot of success. One winter, the members put some money together for me, and I played all winter down in Florida. Had some success there as well, but I always knew that I was best at shaking hands, making people feel good, and managing people. And so I stayed that route, and I was fortunate enough to become the head professional at the Patterson Club in Fairfield, Connecticut in 1991, and worked there for 7 seasons before I got the greatest break in my life. And that's where I am today, finishing up my 27th season at the country club in Brookline. I'm super honored to be there. It's an unbelievable facility with great history and tradition, and it's just been a good fit for me. As you know, the Northeast is a little bit more lower key, and it's a really good fit for me. And it's been a great place to raise a family as well.
Indeed, it has been. I want to take you back to 1998. But before that, you mentioned Cypress Run. That's one of our clients here at Party Drinks.
How great is that? I was there when they first opened.
Oh
they
my
opened
gosh.
up the golf course. I was there. The clubhouse wasn't built yet. And they saw where they used to have tree planting days. Speaking about taking trees down, they actually had trees that people would pay money to plant trees along the fairways there.
Oh my goodness. What a small world. And Ridgewood, I love that place. Oh my gosh. I mean, what a golf mecca. How lucky were you? But then, as you mentioned, the biggest break in your life professionally came by getting the job in 1998 at the country club and its storied history. But a lot was going on in your life too, because you're moving to a new state and everything. You had a young family. You had the Ryder Cup coming the next year. Why don't you take me back to everything that was on your plate at the time?
Oh, thanks, Kevin. It's I look back and you wonder how you got through it. And so the fall of 1997, I had there was the great opportunity at Baltimore Country Club, and I had applied for the job there, and I finished second to a guy named Tony Pancake. Tony was the National Professional of the Year last year for the PGA of America. He's now out in Indiana at a terrific place called Crooked Stick. He's the general manager, director of golf there. And so I was heartbroken. Baltimore Country Club was getting closer to Philly, and a great opportunity. And sure enough, I get the results there, and the job's posted for the country club. They're looking for their new head professional, and put my name in. We had just bought a house in Fairfield thinking we were going to be moving, staying there, but this opportunity you couldn't pass up on to take a look at it. And I was fortunate enough that they narrowed it down to the 5 people, and they invited 5 for interviews, and they invited my wife up, and we had a great interview. And I was invited back for actually, I shouldn't say it. They actually came down where we did a phone interview first, and then a live interview where we went up there, and then about 2 weeks later, don't hear anything. They call and they said they want to come down and interview me down in Connecticut. And I drove down. It was New Year's Eve, 1997. They offered me the job. And I really couldn't tell anybody because we had to hammer through agreements and all that kind of stuff. So I had to sit on it for about a week and a half before I could let my parents know and let my family know. And it was a whirlwind. I was still living in Connecticut. I was spending time at the clubhouse, living in one of the guest rooms, and then going back and forth. Our family was there. We only had one child at the time, and getting up to speed at the club and inheriting an entire staff there. And then Ryder Cup is the next year, getting going, and we get into, and we have a successful first year. The Ryder Cup's going, and sure enough, we're having twins, and gave birth to our twin girls, identical girls, in May of 1999. And with the tournament coming and still new to the operation of the club and trying to go ahead, it was pretty crazy. But you look back, and it's what allowed you to stay humble and continue to realize that things were going to happen that weren't always going to go the right way, and how you handled it taught you a lot of patience and perseverance. And it's here we are. Our twins now are 25 years of age. So pretty amazing. Hey,
let me back a couple things up on. I knew you had twins. I didn't know they were identical. What's that like? It's
you know what? Identical twins are a fluke. That you think coming from a family of 15 that you would have been exposed to twins. We're not, and the eggs just splits, and they're identical in so many ways. They are inseparable. They did everything as kids. They played all the same sports, same activities, went to the same high school, ended up going to the same college. They played lacrosse at Bucknell University, and they were inseparable. They roomed their sophomore year and their senior year, and they actually are still best of friends, and they actually live together in Brookline, which is pretty incredible. They say a lot of the same things, and it's they're always thinking the same way. They're always looking out for one another. It's been fun to watch, and it's pretty neat to kind of see these relationships as siblings. So.
That is so cool. You know what else is cool is knowing you got the job on New Year's Eve. Does that accelerate the party? I mean, can you share what
the strange thing was that night I was going to the golf chairman's house at the Patterson Club, and I had to go have a party. And here I am at his house going to a party, and I couldn't tell him that I was leaving because we still had to hammer out agreement. So we had a good time and celebrated, but I had to keep this secret to him. And eventually, once we hammered out the agreement, got everything squared away, I let him know. And he goes, "When'd you find out?" I said, "Oh, last week on New Year's Eve." And he goes, "You couldn't tell me that whole night?" And I said, "No." I had to keep.
It's like you had two parties going on. You were exactly celebrating the new year coming up and the new opportunity. Yeah. That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
We got all moved up here in June of that year, and it was great to reunite with Desiree, my wife, and my daughter Audrey, and then be able to get moving in the right direction. So
let's talk about. I want to get into the caddy program at the country club because I really enjoyed my experience, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to caddy there. You always made me feel like I was on the team, and I think the rest of the caddies felt that way. And I think there's probably a story behind that. But before you were a golf professional, you have some caddy experience. Where was it, and how was it?
Absolutely. All my brothers caddied at Overbrook Golf Club, which is in Villanova, PA. A great club, and I just followed along, tagged along with them, and then I had a senior project to do at Harrington High School where you had to do this independent study, and I'd asked one of the golf professionals at Philadelphia, Tom Wilcox, if he knew anybody that would allow me to work at their golf course, and so he hooked me up with a guy by the name of Bill Johnstone, who's at Radnor Valley. So as I got that internship for that last semester of high school, I ended up caddying at Radnor Valley the next couple summers. I had a great relationship with those guys. So. And then in Philadelphia, every once in a while, they didn't allow members' kids to caddy, but we had an opportunity during tournaments that we would caddy there, and then we'd go on the road and caddy for one another in tournaments. And so I always loved caddying. It was a great way. And I think about in those days, right when you started out at Radnor Valley, all those guys had tour bags and had their names on their bag. And so you're carrying those big bags around. And I hear today when it's sunny, you should remember Sean Fleming. He used to tell me every time I'd come down with my small bag, he'd tell me it was the heaviest bag in the club and make me feel guilty. And I said, "You don't know what it was like back in the day carrying those big bags." He always used to give me
no, I've carried your bag before. It's probably the lightest bag. So that was just Sean being Sean. And but you didn't have a kickstand on it, Brendan, and that made it a little the kickstand. You got to have the kickstand, all right? All right, come on.
In those days, those big bags, they stood up on their own, so you didn't need a kickstand.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh. But usually my experience caddying at Huntington Valley, if some guy was coming down with a tour bag, he was not a tour player. He was trying to look the part, and he didn't know that we had them all sized up before it happened. I'm sure you've come across that as well.
Those guys at Radnor Valley weren't tour players either. I can promise you that. So.
I bet. So let's talk about the caddy program at the country club. It's just a fantastic place. It's a very interesting mix of college kids, some high school kids, but a lot of grown men. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Very organized. I enjoyed my time. I would have liked to have gotten out sooner, but like I had to wait my turn and everything. And I just heard everything about everything. What is the culture that you tried to establish and are still letting play out at the country club?
Well, Kevin, it's a good caddy versus a bad caddy can make or break your day on the golf course. And so I always say the golf course is what drives people there. And then a good caddy and a good experience from the golf shop staff is icing on the cake. And to be able to go ahead and have that experience. And we take great pride in our caddy program. And we've had some wonderful people like yourself. And we still have a lot of those guys that are there. T-Bone is still working. It's incredible to see. I never call these guys by their nicknames. It's always John, or I call Flash, Robert, or Bobby, and Chris, who's slick. We haven't seen him for a couple of years. And, I always make sure that I call him by their first name and just the respect. But, the big key is you always treat people the way you want to be treated. And growing up as a caddy and knowing the importance, and we just have always tried to treat the caddies that they are part of the team and they're part of the experience. And we ask them to give it everything they have each and every day to make sure that player at the club is going to go ahead and have a wonderful experience. 99% of our rounds are on foot, and about 60% of those rounds are with a caddy based on the guidelines that we have. And it's wonderful to see that if the tradition's continued, we have more caddies in our grouping right now. I think it's over 225 people right now that we have on our caddy list, which is fantastic to see that we can always draw from, and to have our big member guest tournament, which is 64 teams of 2, and everybody's out there walking. It's a pretty special sight, which is you don't see too much in today's day and age with golf carts being so prevalent, and the members are very, very supportive of their caddy program, protecting of their caddy program, and the caddy banquet, if you remember that, and how special that evening is. One of the best days we have at the club, where the tournament goes on, and then we go over to the pool and have a big banquet, and we give out awards, and the energy level in the place and the number of members that come that don't even play in the tournament just to support the caddies is fantastic. And it's what makes the club so special, makes the experience so special.
Well, you make it special too. Aside from just telling us we're on the team, being very polite to us, welcoming to us, I mean, you do things that some other clubs don't do. We were allowed in the golf shop whenever we needed to go. We didn't have to wait for members to get out. We could go in at any time. You gave us a tremendous discount on everything. Was that part of the secret sauce to make it feel like that we were on the team? But probably also so we dress nicely, because I tell you what, some of the caddies in that caddy they're clothes horses.
Yes. It's just a respect and do the right thing. And that's just one of those things, is doing the right thing. There's no reason why you should be treated differently than the members. And the opportunity for you all to play on Mondays, and then we did Thursdays, and then we weren't busy and days that you could go out and play. And as you know, it's a great opportunity, and it's a win-win for both parties. So we need to keep you happy. That's going to keep our membership experience happy. And so we realize the importance of that. And we're all on it. We're all in this thing together, and we all need to make sure that we're doing what we can each and every day to make the experience to be special at TCC.
Yeah, and playing caddies are better caddies, because then they really know how the course plays, because they've played it as opposed to just watching it being played. Brendan Walsh, Director of Golf at the Country Club in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, is our guest here on Party Time, brought to you by Party Drinks and the Golf Real Estate Pros of Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh from SuncoastDreams.com. Let's talk about the Titleist commercial. Well, first of all, you've been on staff forever. Since when?
Since 1990, something I'm very proud of. It's a great company, and the continuity that they have there, the consistency of the people and the way that they look after golf professionals. Obviously, they're in our backyard, but just a great group of people. And I've had the same, my rep just retired this year, but you think about having the same representative for all 27 seasons at the Country Club, pretty incredible. They're also the FootJoy brands under their umbrella, and we've had the same FootJoy rep for all those years as well. And just have great people that are at the top. A lot of the presidents of the divisions have been there for quite some time. And you're a true partner with the company, and that's something that as you go into business, you want to make sure that the companies you're doing business with always have your back. And Titleist, the Acushnet Company, FootJoy, it's been amazing career with them, and I am so blessed that I've been a partner with them, and they look after us beautifully, and the club as well. They're always the support of the club has been tremendous.
I've played Titleist like my whole life. I mean, there's just not a better ball. I mean, I can't look at another ball. I mean, I'm so used to just seeing the dimple pattern on the Pro V1, and that's my ball, Pro V1. Let's talk about the commercial. I mean, how long were you in that for? Was that 2 seconds, 3 seconds? Let me read it to you. Looks like you peaked a little. Let's try that again. How did that end up in it, and how much do you hear people asking you about that?
Well, it's interesting. I got a call kind of last minute on that, and I was in Orlando, and they want to know if I could do this, and it was up in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra Country Club, I believe it was. And so I drove up there after a Pro-Am at Mountain Lake, which is in Lake Wales, Florida. Got there that night, and we woke up the first thing in the morning, right when the sun came up, and a guy by the name of Mike Joe Heffer with Titleist, who was doing all the producing and directing, and there was a gentleman, Ben Taylor, who was with us as well, and Ben is from Dedham, a member at Dedham. He's a friend of Joe's, and got us together. And it was just, he said, hey, the theme of this is that we have to earn it in the dirt, and we have to go ahead and continue to practice. The Titleist isn't ever resting on their laurels, and we just want to get that theme. And so he gave me a couple key words, and I just started giving a short game lesson. And it actually was not as long. We probably filmed for maybe 45 minutes at best. And then Ben and I they all took off, do some other things. And Ben and I hit balls at this club for a while. We were flying out that afternoon, but it was a treat. It didn't come on for a while. I did it in November, and it first aired probably in April. And my phone was blowing up. I was giving a lesson. We were using the 9th hole as a range, the year of the Open, and the phone was blowing up, and people had seen it, sent it to me, and it ran for about a whole year, which I was surprised, and was very honored to be part of that, and to be able to have Titleist ask me to do that. It was a real treat, and something that I'll always cherish.
Well, it said so much in so little. Look like you peaked a little. Let's try that again. I mean, that is so much about golf and instruction. You get a lot of mileage out of brevity in what you say, so long as it's pithy, and that certainly was.
Another line in that was repetition is the key. Another thing in there, and that was just to say, hey, you have to grind it out in the dirt.
Yes. Ben Hogan said the answer is in the dirt. All right, we got to talk about the U.S. Open. 2022. It was glorious. I loved every minute that I saw of it on TV. To me, it had your fingerprints all over it, and also the membership's fingerprints all over it. Let me be specific about a couple of things. The history lessons that were talked about at Francis's house, the Fernando the drink. I want to get into what that is for the uninitiated and who Fernando is. It seems so well thought out. Tell me how it all came together.
As you know, Kevin, these tournaments, it takes an army, and we had an incredible group of people that were leading the way, led by our president, Lyman Bullard, and our general chair, Will Fulton. You probably remember Will. You probably caddy for him, just an incredible guy. And then working alongside the USGA, and they have a blueprint for all this, and we're a supporting cast for them, and they directed us. But as you know, when you get two organizations that come together, don't know each other that well, and then we were able to come together and have a common bond and a common goal, and to run the best possible championship that we could. Everything worked out weather-wise. A lot of things that we had no control over worked in our favor. As the build-up leading up to it, we didn't have a lot of rain. Everything worked out from the golf course setup, from the time that we started to make some changes to the routing. As you know, we made that slight adjustment in the routing to make the nines to be a little bit more even from a yardage perspective, and had one par 5 on the front, one par 5 on the back. And the players came in, and you never know how they're going to like the golf course, and they were super positive about it all the way through. The weather cooperated. We dodged a big thunderstorm on Friday afternoon. We had a little rain on Saturday night into Sunday morning, but things firmed up enough. And as you know, there were 29 people under par through Friday. And then when that wind came through on Saturday and it got chilly, it was like 60 degrees, wind was blowing about 20 miles an hour. At the end of the day, there were only 6 people under par. And then only 9 people finished under par on Sunday overall. It was an incredible finish with Matt Fitzpatrick. The story about this kid from Suffield, England, when he was 18 years of age, he wins the U.S. Amateur. He comes back 9 years later to go ahead and to win the U.S. Open, to beat Scotty Scheffler and to beat Will Zalatoris by a shot. And they both had chances on the last hole, came down to the wire. And did you know that Fitzpatrick is the only other male besides Jack Nicklaus to win the U.S. Amateur and the U.S. Open at the same golf course? Nicklaus won it at Pebble, and he won the Amateur at Pebble. And then Julie Inkster did it on the female side at Prairie Dunes. So there's only 3 players that have actually accomplished that feat, which is pretty neat. Fitzpatrick's name, and going to the locker room, you see his name under both back-to-back, our 2 championships from 13 and 22 on our big USGA board. It's pretty special. And
is he a favorite? Is he a favorite son of the club? It seems like it, because even prior to him winning the U.S. Open at the Country Club, I could see on his hybrid he had the squirrel, the head cover on there. And I knew he'd been back a couple times, but apparently it's been a lot more than I knew. So why don't you pick it up from there?
Yes. So he actually stayed with, I mentioned Will Fulton, who was our general chair of the event. Will hosted Matt's family in 2013, and they stayed in touch. And Matt would come back into the Boston area as he had turned professional. He went to Northwestern for a semester, found out college wasn't for him, and he turned pro right away. And he had continued to get better and better. And he and Wilt stayed in touch. So anytime he was in town or close by, he would come and stay at Wilt's house, maybe come play golf. He spent one Thanksgiving at Wilt's house, and they continued to stay in touch. And so we would see him. He would practice every once in a while at the club, and then he would go ahead and, as leading up to the Open, Will said he's going to stay with him again. So they were going to try to recreate everything that, he felt really good about the club. And as you know better than anybody, Kevin, the golf course requires a lot of reps because there's a lot of blind shots. And Fitzpatrick, to think about him to win, he had the most reps of anybody on the golf course. We were surprised we didn't see more people coming in early, but both Scheffler and Zalatoris played in the amateur as well, so they had reps in. Whereas a lot of the guys that didn't spend a fair amount of time there's a lot of holes that you can't quite get comfortable on those blind tee shots and where to hit it. And yeah, they say a blind hole is only blind once, but as you know, you got to get some few reps in to get comfortable. And it was pretty amazing. And he's now an honorary member. He came back to the club in April of this year with his fiance. I drove him out to the bunker on the 18th hole. He hadn't been back since. And he just still couldn't believe that he hit that shot with a 9-iron from 155 yards. And the ball went up the tongue and came down to the left and gave him a shot. And I may have told you this when we were chatting a couple of weeks ago. One incredible thing about Matt, just to tell you about it, quite the individual he is he wins the U.S. Open, big celebration that night. That was at the club, back at the Fulton House. And he became very friendly with a Brookline detective, a guy by the name of Dave Wagner. And Dave looked after him in the 2013 U.S. Amateur. And then they stayed in touch. And then he walked with Matt's group the last couple of days with all the live stuff going on. They had a lot of folks walking with the groups. And so here it is. The next day we do a press day and, just a community day. And the town of Brookline got a few tee times. And Dave, being the golfer that he is, he was able to secure one of the times. And he had 3 of his colleagues out. And who drives up at 9:45, 15 minutes before Dave's tee time, is Matt Fitzpatrick to take a picture with Dave and his 3 colleagues, which you would never see that from a U.S. Open winner coming back the next day after they won. He stopped into the shop, signed a bunch of flags for us, was able to give a signed flag to just about everybody on the team. And just some of the things that he did, it just shows you the incredible human being it is, an individual. And now being an honorary member, I hope that we'll see more of him, through his travels when he spends time in Boston.
That is so cool. I have some buddies that caddied for him and his brother Alex, was how old was Alex when he caddied for Matt?
I think he was 12, maybe at best.
Tell me this: does his story kind of remind, with Alex on his bag, almost like Francis Ouimet and Eddie Lowry? I mean, did that ever? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
They were telling that story during the 213 amateur. NBC was, and hey, how about this story? And then, just to be able to see that come alive, and then to see Matt and then Alex there at the Open is all grown up. And there was this kid, Travis Vick, at the University of Texas. He had his friend caddying for him, and they were one of the amateurs to make the cut. And they were talking about, and they were in the top 10, I think, through 3 rounds. He had a tough, or through 2 rounds. And so they were chatting that up as well, the Francis and Eddie story. But as you know, that's an incredible story that put the game of golf on the map in this country in 1913. We met to beat Ted Ray and Harry Vardon in that playoff. And you think about, it was a rich man's game then. And here it is, this blue-collar kid who lived across the street from the club, who gets an invite to play in the Open after having some good amateur showings, and to go ahead and win, and to see where the game of golf took off, where the number of golf courses that opened up after that point, and the number of golfers that started to play the game over the next 15 to 20 years. And you think about all the courses now over the last 10 years that have celebrated their 100th anniversary, has a lot to do with Ouimet's win. And it's been fun to know that the country club's part of that history. And I know we chatted a little bit about the house. We had
let's talk about the house, because usually in your speech when you would welcome people to the country club, you would mention his house, and you will see it as you go out, and it looks the same. But in the end, on the broadcast, something happened after I left. That the house is now just not a drive-by place. But why don't you pick it up from there?
Correct. So the longtime owners there were not golfers, and in 1999, you had people there. They're telling the Ouimet story. People were knocking on their door, and hey, can I come in and see Francis's bedroom? And we're like, who the heck's Francis? And they finally realized that they had bought a house of this famous golfer. So they held on to it. And one of our members, a guy by the name of Tom Hines, lives right across the street from the club, a couple doors down from the We Met house. And the person who lived in the We Met house would walk their dog by Tom's house. And Tom just said, hey, if there's ever a chance you're going to sell the house, we'd love to have first right. And so, every time he would see him, I'm not ready to sell yet, Tom. And eventually he came up to him and said, I'm ready to sell. And so Tom got together and with a couple of folks, and they put together an LLC to buy the house. The group of members did, and the goal was to gift it to the club. And through that time, Tom raised a bunch of money to go ahead and to recreate the 1913 era of decor on the inside, and just did a marvelous job. It was his, and put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that over a 2-year period, and actually more of a 4-year period, because this summer they gifted the house to the club. So now the house is owned by the club and using it as a guest house if people want to get an experience of what it's like in there. And we've had some meetings in there, cocktail receptions. They're going to actually, the We Met Foundation is going to have a cocktail reception there in a couple of weeks, right before Christmas, which is pretty neat. And there's a lot of clippings of Francis in there and all kinds of things. One of the neat things is that when they were opening up some of the ceilings in there, a putter and a niblick popped out of the ceiling that had been there ever since Francis's time, that clubs of that era that were just, they had done some renovation, I guess, to the house way back when, and they were up in the so-called attic, which is it's just more of an area that you can't walk up to anymore. You can just put stuff on top of there. So pretty neat.
Yeah, kind of a hideaway thing here. That's so classy of the club to do, and perfect timing, and it just seems like it's a blessing, and it seems like magical things happen around the country club, from Francis winning the U.S. Open in 1913, and then Matt Fitzpatrick and his good fortune there. So cool. The Fernando, all right, now you mentioned that quite a bit during your speech. Let's talk about the speech, and then we'll talk about the Fernando, all right? I'm going to give my best Brendan imitation. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our club. What's going on there? For those that are not, first of all, how was that? Was that any good?
It's pretty good.
All right.
I always try to add a few new things every year. I say, welcome to the country club, one of the cathedrals of American golf.
Oh, my God.
We were established in 1882 as more of a social club with emphasis on equestrian activities. Golf did not begin here until 1893. And then you go through, and, there's just so much history that I get so excited to say it. People always give me a hard time. Don't you ever get tired of this? And, if there's, every time we have a one-day member guest, there's at least 15 or 20 people. It's their first time coming to the club, and you want them to have that experience. And I can't tell you how many people come up to me afterward. Thank you so much for that. That was fantastic. And just to make sure that they know when they're walking around there, what's taking place, the tradition of the game, and how the game of golf got going in this country. It's all because of the country club and the grounds that they're walking on. So I never take it for granted. And I want people to be able to understand the importance of the history at the club. And I'll never stop doing it. Excuse me, something I get super excited about every time. And I always have to make sure there's energy that's tied into it as well.
Oh, there's plenty of energy. And it's just enough, too, because you feel like, oh, okay, I got it. And that enhances the experience. All right, back to the telecast with the U.S. Open, the Fernando. What is a Fernando, and who is Fernando?
So what a Fernando is, it's a rum float that very special sauce at the end. There's like egg white that goes onto the top, and they put a little dab of Myers rum on the top. They use Bacardi, I guess, inside of it. I've never had one. I'm not a drinker, but it is a special thing, and it's just written up in Golf Digest this month, actually. Talks about the Fernando. And so Fernando is our longtime locker room attendant who is actually retiring at the end of this year. He and his wife, Arminda, have worked at the club for a combined 69 years. Arminda headed up our housekeeping department. Fernando's headed up our locker room department. And he was tasked when he first started at the club they had a drink, but nothing that was really stuck. And so he played with a lot of different recipes and came up with this recipe, and it really stuck. And they started to name the drink after him. And it's, for my 27 years, it's always been called the Fernando. And it was so funny during the U.S. Open. My oldest daughter, Audrey, said to me, I come home on that Sunday night late, and she goes, Dad, you know this guy Fernando? And I said, yeah, I know Fernando. And my kids don't spend a lot of time at the club. And he goes, he was signing autographs today. And I said, yeah, he's very famous at the club. And they did a little feature. Jimmy Roberts did a feature on NBC about it. And And he was out there signing autographs, and we started to sell hats with a picture of the cup and the orange on it and the cherry. And those things sold out. And we started selling them the year before the Open, and they were the biggest hit. We couldn't keep them in stock. And during the Open, we sold out of them. A lot of the players wanted them. They had seen the clip on NBC and wanted to get a copy of one. And so we were, for a long time, they were on kind of, as we got them in, we would go through them. There was a wait list to get them, but we now finally caught up. But super popular. We're so proud of Fernando and his wife and the great career they've had. They're both from Guatemala. They came here when they were very young, and they lived the American dream. And they are moving back to Guatemala. They are opening up a bed and breakfast. They've owned a farm there, opening up a bed and breakfast. They have a coffee farm. And they're going back, and after an incredible career here at the club, and they just had a big party for him last week to celebrate their unbelievable career at the club. We're going to miss him. The drink will live forever, but he's going to stop by in the summers, and I think we'll still see him coming back for a few weeks every summer. So
that is so cool. Brendan Walsh, the director of golf at the Country Club in Chestnut Hill, Mass., is our guest here. Brendan, I told you I'd keep you for a half hour. We're 44 minutes in. I do have a couple more that I have to get in. How long are you going to do this? Are you going to work forever, or is retirement in the plans? What can you share?
I'll definitely work forever, but I'll definitely do it at a slower pace at some time, and something that I'd never not going to work. But as you know, as a golf professional, it's a young person's game, and there's a lot going on, and the days are long during the summer months. And as I'm getting up there in age, I'll be 62 in a couple weeks, and so we're definitely the goal would be to still be involved in the club at some point, at some capacity, but not at the level that I am today. So, but we'll see. We're still figuring that out this winter. I'm going to take a long, hard look. We go to Florida for a couple months and go down and start thinking about where I'm going to be over the next 5 years. So,
talk about the role that golf has played in your life. Not so much the places you've been, but just how personal it's been to you and how meaningful. Because as I ask of a lot of my guests, they can't imagine life without golf. So, I mean, if you had to say the profound impact it's had, what would it be?
It's been amazing. When you think about all the things that I've been able to do because of the game of golf, and you think of this little white ball and the people you've met, not just locally, but nationally and around the world. I've had a chance to play golf in a lot of different countries, and to be able to go ahead and have that opportunity just because of this game. And it's been part of my life. I started at 5 and I've never stopped. And even on my days off, I'm still thinking about the game, and I love it. And so people always say, isn't it like a busman's holiday? Not to me. I still enjoy it. I actually enjoy the game now more than I ever have, because my expectations aren't as high as they used to be. Back in your competitive days, you get all frustrated, what have you, and just enjoy the people that I'm with. But the things that I've been able to experience and the trips that I've been on, not just playing, but for education, and had a chance to go to China once, to go to the Asian Golf Show, and to go to Shanghai and Beijing because of this game. I mean, things like that are just incredible. Trips to Ireland and Scotland and Canada, and have opportunities and golf with my family in Ireland, with my dad and my 6 brothers and 2 perfect foursomes. And things like that are just so special that you can tie around with that. The people that I've met and the people that I've been able to work with, and not only from a club committee standpoint, but members, but staff that I've had a chance to work with, and the impact that people have made on me. And hopefully I've made an impact on some people along the way.
The thing you said about enjoying golf more because your expectations are lower, you got to help me with that, man, because my game is disintegrating. And it drives me insane, and I can't tolerate bad shots. It's like, maybe we could talk about that off the air. All right, yeah. Final question for you here. If you could give one tip that can help more people than anything else, your one go-to, your silver bullet, your nugget of wisdom to help them with their golf, what would it be?
Effortless power is undefeated. We all try way too hard in this game, and from a grip pressure point of view, and let your arms just be soft and try to feel the club head. And if you have a real stable environment at address, use the ground. And so think of your energy level being in your legs and your feet, and using the ground as you rotate back and really post up into that right side. And then you use the ground on the downswing, but let those arms be free and let the club do the job. Too many people strangle that club, and the club's not moving as fast as it could. If we can get into that freedom in your arms and really feel some freedom in your wrist, you're going to see that club is going to start to react a little bit more comfortably. And too many people just try way too hard. And so I say that often, and I give a little one-day member guest speech a lot, and I use that EP, effortless power is undefeated. It goes a long way. So think about your arms, just let them just drop. Take all that tension out of your arms before you go. You got to grip the club, but that's the only thing your relationship's with, and that pressure in your arms and your shoulders, you got to lighten that load. If a scale 1 to 10 should be about a 5, the grip pressure is going to be about a 6 or a 7. You don't want the club to move in your fingers, but you got to have the freedom in your arms. But use the stability of the ground and making sure that you're in a good posture position, because it all starts with the foundation. Your golf swing's an alternating pattern of stability and mobility. And if you don't start with stability, that mobility is going to get out of hand. So we want to start with our feet, using the ground, and really feel like you're solid.
Like it a lot. Brendan, I really enjoyed the time here with you, and I thank you for everything that you've done for me over the years. I hope I left a little bit of a legacy at the country club, but not like you have, my friend. You have sent a lot of assistant pros on their way to head pro jobs. You've made the experience for guests and the working experience for caddies and staff there something that means a lot to them, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I really mean that. And when you come down to Florida, why don't you come over to the golf side, all right? And maybe we can hook up and play some golf, talk some golf, or just get together. How's that sound?
I appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you so much. It means a lot that you've asked me, and think the world of you, and I'm glad everything's going so well. And you're one of the first I know that made the plunge in our age category down to Florida and doing your thing down there. And I'm glad it's all worked out for you and your family. So continued success down there.
Well, come on down when you do. Florida needs you, and Florida needs a lot of people. It's a beautiful life down here, starting with the weather and the people. We need more good people down here, people like you. Brendan Walsh. Thanks, buddy. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course to a beer or a hard seltzer or whatever it is you indulge in, try Party. And if your dream is to live in a golf resort community like Lakewood National Golf Club, Greater Sarasota area, nobody better than the golf real estate pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro, suncoastdreams.com, a division of Fine Properties. For Brendan Walsh, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
Hi, I'm Jean Walsh with suncoastdreams.com, your top producing real estate team here in Lakewood National Golf Club. I'm on the third hole of the Piper course today, and you have this beautiful view, and the golf course is incredible, and so are the amenities and families that live here. If your dream is to live on a golf course with amazing people, please feel free to give me and Vince Vizzacaro a call at 941-220-4000.